You keep hearing about the mass exodus from California. In fact, over 650,000 residents left California in 2019. Earlier this year, Joe Rogan left California for Texas, and Elon Musk just announced that he moved to Texas as well. But it doesn't just stop at wealthy individuals. Large corporations such as Oracle and HP recently announced they're moving their headquarters out of California. Human migration has been taking place since humans existed. The reasons that people migrate can be broken down into four categories: economic, social, political, or environmental. With everything happening across the world, these factors have had a huge impact on human lives. With the best weather in the United States, home to the best beaches, Hollywood, and Silicon Valley, why would anyone want to leave California? In this video, I'll be discussing some of the economic factors and how they impact the increased human emigration out of California. Hello, welcome to CPA Explains. This video, and all videos on our channel, are for informational and entertainment purposes only. Please contact your tax attorney or CPA for your specific tax needs. One of the main things that impacts Californians is high taxes. There is a broad range of state tax types, but today we're going to focus on income tax as it's likely to have the most impact on you. Let's start with the individual state tax rate. The individual tax rate in California ranges from 1 to 13.3%. The highest tax bracket at 13.3% is assessed at any taxable income above $1 million. To put a dollar amount on these tax rates, let's look at two different scenarios. First, let's look at a single individual making a salary of $100,000, and then also let's look at another individual making $1.5 million in California so we can assess how state taxes impact individuals. First, let's look at an individual making $100,000 of taxable income. Applying the 2020 federal single individual tax rates to $100,000 of taxable income gives us about $18,000 of federal tax due, not including FICA taxes. This is the federal amount that's due to the IRS, so this would be the same no matter what state you live in. It's also important to note that the latest tax reform regulations cap state and local tax deductions to $10,000, so living in a high tax state doesn't really give you any federal benefit. This same individual would pay about $6,500 in California state taxes. We can calculate the effective tax rate to get a better understanding. The effective tax rate is calculated by taking the total tax paid in California divided by total taxable income. So in this scenario, an individual making around $100,000 of taxable income is paying about 6.5% in California state income taxes. The same individual would get to keep that $6,500 in taxes if they lived and earned income in states like Florida, Texas, and Nevada. So it shouldn't come as any surprise that all of the individuals and companies we talk about ended up moving to Texas. States like Idaho are also seeing a huge influx of Californians due to the low cost of living, but they do have a state income tax. And if you're making $100,000 of taxable income, it would actually be around the same amount as California state taxes. But as you start earning more income, the state tax rates for California get much higher. Paying $6,500 in state taxes is definitely a lot, but in my opinion, the tax rates at these middle-class tax brackets aren't as extreme as it is when you move up in the tax brackets. So when it comes to human migration, people in a lower or middle class would be less likely to move and start a new life in a new state just because of tax purposes. Now let's look at an individual making $1.5 million of taxable income. So first, we'll apply our federal tax rate to the $1.5 million of taxable income, and that's about $520,000, not including FICA taxes. Again, this would be the federal taxes, and this would be due no matter where you lived in the United States. Now the $1.5 million of taxable income for state California income tax would equate to about $175,000. This individual would have an effective tax rate of about 11.6%, which is almost double what we saw in our last scenario. So all things kept the same, if this individual moved to a state with no income tax, they would save $175,000. In many states, not including California, that's enough to buy a house. And imagine, that's the amount of savings in tax every year. In 2020, Joe Rogan signed a deal with Spotify, which was worth to be about $100 million. So you can imagine how much money someone like Joe Rogan could save just by moving to a different state with no income tax. That just gives you a perspective in how much these high income earners would be saving in taxes just by moving away from California. Some California politicians have also proposed to raise the state's 13.3% top tax rate to 16.8%. So we just looked at income taxes as it relates to individuals, but corporations are also subject to high California taxes and a high cost of doing business in California. The recent events due to the pandemic has caused a lot of business disruption. HP, which traces its origins back to 1938 and one of the pioneers of Silicon Valley, has recently announced that they're moving their headquarters to Texas. In their announcement, they mentioned that due to the recent events of the pandemic, they have decided to relocate because of reevaluation of cost savings and from the work from home era. California has the highest corporate state income tax rate at 8.8%. A corporation leaving California doesn't mean they'll be able to avoid all California income taxes, but they could significantly reduce their California state tax. And recently, a Fortune 500 company, Oracle, announced that they'll be leaving California for Austin, Texas. With the rapid changes these companies made to their work from home policies, they no longer need to have headquarters located in an expensive area like California. It may seem like a good idea to tax the rich, but when it comes down to it, the rich have opportunities that the lower and middle class people don't. People who have the opportunity to move to a lower taxing jurisdiction will do a cost-benefit analysis to make that decision. For many people, the high cost of living and high taxes is worth living in a beautiful place like California. But with the latest lockdown measures and people being stuck inside, a lot of people weren't able to enjoy all of the amenities that they're paying for by living in California. With the increase of California's rate of departures, the state also lost 0.8% of the taxable base of those earning more than $250,000 or more. The bulk of the erosion of the tax base came from millionaire taxpayers that left California and changed their resident status to non-residents. So what do you think about these public figures and corporations announcing that they're leaving California? Do you think it's going to have a real impact on the California economy? I'd love to know your opinion and feedback about this video, so please comment below. Let me know what other topics you want me to cover and subscribe to see more. Thank you.